Welcome to For the Love of It, Tafe New South Wales sessions. I'm your host, Steph Pappas, and on this special edition, all our guests share a common pathway that Tafe New South Wales have supported their dreams. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of Eora Nation. We pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging. Today's guest is the founder and designer behind the Australian label Anna Quan, which is known for its timeless style and everyday tailoring, and it all started with a simple white shirt. Our guest began her career path in law and communications. She's a 2011 graduate of the Tafe New South Wales Fashion Design Studio, joining the ranks of alumni like Akira Izugawa and Nikki Zimmerman. She is winner of numerous awards, including winner of Prix de Marie Claire Best Australian Designer Award, featured in locally and internationally in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Elle magazine, just to name a few. And she's dressed international celebrities, including Anne Hathaway, Greta Lee, and Margot Robbie, who all adore this minimalist Australian label. Last year, her label stepped into its 10th anniversary, which is a tribute to our guest. She continues to evolve and stay true to her core values. It gives me great honour to welcome to For the Love of It, Tafe New South Wales Sessions, Anna Hoang from the label Anna Quan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's beautiful to have you here. So we're going to go on a bit of a journey into your incredible career, and let's go, because it all started, you studied law and communications.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
And when you studied law and communications, you always knew that there was something within you that you wanted to delve into the path of fashion. And I loved how you shared, tell us, like right then, you started to look for work in fashion, in the industry, and what was the experience you were having with that? Yeah.
I obviously received a lot of numerous rejections. But yeah, no, I think about like halfway through my degree, around third year, I think I realised I probably just wasn't going to work as a lawyer. But I always wanted to get into fashion. So I just thought, why not just try it out and see what happens. So I just applied to all these places. I didn't know very much. And somebody actually at the Collett Dinnigan workroom kindly actually replied and said, you maybe you should go do a course. And then I think I turned up to an interview for like Q, and someone there said, look, the head pattern maker said to me, look, I think if you really want to go into fashion, you actually just need to go and do a course. Yeah. So then I was just like, well, it was like fairly naive. I was like, well, how do I do it? Just research it on the internet and go look up courses.
And little did you know how complicated it is.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's complicated. Yeah.
And I loved how you even shared you had a rejection folder.
Oh yeah, I had
right? I thought that was so beautiful.
Well, I think you need
and something for people to learn from, you know.
Rejection is a normal part of life, but I actually thought it was good. I know it sounds terrible, but I think sometimes getting rejections is good because you're kind of testing out whether you want something bad enough as well. And you know, you have to exhaust all avenues, and I'm quite dogged in my determination with that. So yeah, so I just had a rejection folder, and I think after a while, after like the few stings of the first few ones you get, and you go, oh my God, that just happened to me, you kind of get over it, and it's kind of like a funny game where you just get more and more. Yeah. And then you kind of, it's kind of like Teflon, then you don't really like, you just build a bit of a thicker skin, and you just like, you don't take it personally. You take on the constructive aspects of the criticism. Yeah. If you actually, indeed, someone has actually gone to the trouble of actually replying, and that doesn't always happen either, but it's you know, I think it's a lesson in, you know, testing out whether this is something you really want or not.
And exactly, and now taking that, because you actually were still studying law and communications, and then illustration class with Nicholas Huxley at night.
Yeah.
What were the challenges? Like, that would have been a lot to balance.
Oh, I mean, to be honest, I don't think it was that challenging. I mean, it was like a bit of a commute, going to the East
This is
Sydney
the East
campus,
Sydney Technical
and
College,
then, yeah, no, I don't think it was too bad. I think for me, like actually, the design course was much more challenging. So, I mean, in terms of like looking back at it now, I don't think that was a lot to take on. I mean,
And were you still feeling after that, because I've done that illustration course
Yeah.
as well, then it's the next step is applying for that exam
Yeah,
to get into the
yeah.
full-time course.
yeah.
And I remember you sharing that you actually didn't eat the
Oh,
whole
I
day
didn't.
before. Yeah.
I was really like, for me, that was kind of like, this is the pivotal moment of truth. Like, because I mean, other than that, I'd pretty much finished my course and I was waiting to graduate and finish a few other little bits and pieces to get admitted as solicitor. So I kind of knew if I didn't get in, then I'd probably just go and work at a law firm, which
And
was
stay
a bit,
on that pathway, yeah.
potentially, because it'd be really hard after that to go, actually, I'm going to quit this lucrative course that is bringing in more money than being a student on youth allowance, and then say no to that and go be a student again.
So it was actually your boyfriend at the time,
Yeah.
husband now,
He said-
who is also a
yeah.
solicitor. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, you'll get used to the money and you won't want to come back, which is true. You just wouldn't, because, it's probably more money even, I mean, a junior solicitor's salary is still higher than what you would get as a part-time, or, as a student and working part-time. And then you just kind of get to a point where you become too comfortable. And if you get too comfortable in things, it makes sense. It's human nature. You don't want to leave. You know what I mean?
And it would have been a lot of hard work studying law anyway, and to get to that level, you were very close.
Oh, I don't know. It's a lot of reading.
A lot of reading, yeah.
It's just, honestly, it's just a lot of reading. So I don't think, I mean, it's a lot of reading. I think if you can read and apply, this is the thing. I feel like if you study something like law, you can read and study and you can get somewhere with yourself. I don't think that's hard. I think like you do something like fashion, you can work hard, you can study, you can do stuff, but you might not get anywhere.
It's a really good point that you make.
Like, I think that it's so much simpler to just go study, read books. You can stay up all night. You can, like, I don't mind staying up 12 hours a day. It doesn't bother me. It is hard work, but like the hard work doesn't scare me. It's the thing that is scary is doing something but knowing that you might not get a reward.
There's no guarantee.
There's no
when you
guarantee
study
of
this
success.
course at
Whereas I kind of,
FDS,
yeah, there's no guarantee. And I
Yeah.
think that if you're just reading, sounds terrible, but if you're just reading stuff, absorb the information, and you have the capacity to absorb information and apply it, that's not very challenging in the whole scheme of things to get ahead in life. It's just the unknowns of doing something that's much more creative and that's so much more subjective. That is a lot harder to achieve success in, like commercial success in, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because before we go into your label, I wanted to just stay with the study now full time, because you did end up you got in, you made it through the exam, and what, the challenges, pattern making, you share a story about the pattern making, and there's a lot of classes, isn't there? Do you want to talk us through?
There's a lot of classes.
Yeah.
It's vocational education training. It wasn't a degree when I started. Now it's a degree, so I think the format is a little bit different. But you spend 8 hours a week. You do 4 hours of pattern making. You do 4 hours of construction, and then you do multiple other subjects, and then you have to go home and make stuff. Actually, making stuff is a lot harder than reading. Reading is easy. Like, you've already done that in high school and primary school, and you just do a bit more in uni.
Because you didn't do home economics or...
No, nothing.
Yeah.
I think I might have mentioned that I never learnt to sew before I started the course. And my friend who was already in the course told me it was a waste of money to spend $500 on one day to do a bridging course to learn to sew. So I turned up to my first lesson. I didn't know what an overlocker was, and I had no idea about I didn't know anything about industrial sewing machines. So that was a bit of a shocker, but...
Did you cry?
I almost cried actually at the end of my first semester exam because I didn't know what I was doing. But but my teacher, luckily, she gave me a bit of extra time. but I was the last person to finish.
How were is there a particular teacher that stood out for you back then that?
I mean, all the teachers, all the construction teachers I have a huge respect for. I think that
Some of them are still there.
Oh,
yeah.
they're still there, but I have a huge respect for that because going out into the industry, you start to realise that there's actually not a lot of people who know how to make things and also know how to make things to a professional standard.
Yeah.
They know how to make things, but little things
Details
like the details,
yeah.
like are you pressing the seams in the correct direction?
Yeah.
It sounds so basic, but it's now like literally like my worst habit is to go into like a very expensive store and to look at the insides of garments and then go, oh, I'm not paying that much for this. It's not even done correctly. But yeah, no, they're highly disciplined, and it's always about like, you know, what the industry standards should look like, which isn't always the case these days. But yeah, no, I have a huge respect for just generally that department, I would say.
And I would almost say, do you find because you were quite naive in the sewing techniques, you really have come out of that course, you know, putting more effort into wanting to learn it, like really wanting to learn.
Oh, I just didn't have any bad habits.
Yes.
That's the thing. I just didn't have any bad habits because I didn't know how to do anything.
So then you got taught in a way that
yeah. So I just got taught like this is the way you do things.
Yes.
So I wasn't like, well, I do it this way. So I didn't know any other way. So, you know, so that was in a way it's good because
work towards you.
Yeah. Sometimes being naive a little bit is not a terrible thing. No.
And when you get out of the course, it can be quite difficult. Of where do you go next? Like, do you go work for a label? Do you start your own label? Now, you started a label with, was it a college, a friend from Tafe?
Yeah, a friend from college.
And that kind of crash landed, to be honest.
Nobody do that. Nobody, just don't. Just
I've
no.
done that as well, but
I would
don't
probably
do that.
say 99.9% of partnerships don't work.
Yeah.
It's not because people are bad or good or this or that. It's just, I think like you need to have like different complementary skill sets, and everybody needs to perform
yes.
in an equitable manner at different things. So it's much better to have complementary skills and like to have different strengths and weaknesses. So, but you know what? I just kind of think if you want to run your own business, like it's not a democracy. It's what I realize. If you're waiting for someone else who's a bit more indecisive to make a decision, then it probably won't work. Like it's just difficult. I just think you need to, I mean, I'm not saying be a dictator, but I just don't think like not every person's opinion counts. Like it sounds a bit terrible, but yeah, sometimes you just need to like really make some quick and sharp decisions based on the information you receive at the time and what you know. Like you might not be correct all the time, but like sitting on doing nothing is also making a decision to do nothing as well, when you know there's something that needs to be actioned.
And being your own boss in that, because what I really loved learning about you was at that point you could have again just stopped and gone back to your original plan, but of being a solicitor, but you continued, and then you went on to have your own label after that. So you took a little bit of time.
I took
to readjust,
to like feel sorry for myself,
yeah.
and then my husband was like, "Oh, but you've been doing it all by yourself anyway, so who cares? Just go do it. Like you've proven you can actually do it by yourself. So what are you so scared about? Just go do it."
And when did the shirt come? Did you start then by thinking I'm going to have one piece that I do well?
I started testing out other product categories because I thought that the shirt tailoring woven market was already saturated. So I was kind of like, well, what is the point of difference? So then I started doing streetwear for like a season, and that didn't really work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, that's not really working. And then I just kind of went back to what felt really natural to me. And then I did the shirt, and then that didn't really work, but I really liked it. And then my PR agent was like, oh, like, you know, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to do a core item. I didn't know it was a core item, but that's what, like, how most businesses run, that they have like, you know, a significant percentage of their revenue is based off key and core styles that they update every season that don't require a lot of R&D. Hadn't really like articulated it in that way, but I kind of thought, oh, I'm just gonna make a thing that I'm gonna be known for. I kind of reverse engineered it in my head. I was like, I'm gonna make this item. I just need to think about what it is, and it's just gonna pay for everything else. And it's the thing that people are going to come to me for. Yep. And in a way, it was kind of like crazy when I think about it, a bit maniacal to think this is what's going to happen. And then I think that my agent at the time was like, you're dreaming. No one's going to pay $300.
The price value.
Yeah, she said, no one's going to pay you $300 because I was no one. I had, like, the brand had no cultural capital, it had no social capital at the time. And I think obviously, you know, it took some time, but you know, I just, you know, there's a bit of like, you know, there's like having a good product, and there's also like marketing the product, and what it needed was to be adequately marketed in a way in which, you know, brand identity starts to like become very synonymous and known with certain key things. So, I mean, we just, you know, and then I just worked on that. So that was fine. I decided, okay, well, the key thing is that, like, at the time, street style had started to come into its own, and it was a relatively new thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get this all shot at like all the key fashion weeks all around the world, and I'm just going to like write to a bunch of people. Same thing, like my rejection letter. I'm just going to write to a bunch of people, and I'm just going to see, you know, if they want one. Yeah, yep. I just wrote to them. So I just like wrote to a whole bunch of people. And they thought it was cool. They hadn't seen anyone do that. And it was personalized. It like had your own initials on it, and it became a thing. So it's possible to engineer a product to, like, you know, to meet a market sort of need to be a thing. But yeah, so it was just quite strategically timed as well.
And at that point, even it was starting to get picked up and momentum overseas, but you still weren't really selling in Australia. No. And so you picked up on this as well. And there was another key thing. You went overseas with a suitcase. You hadn't been overseas before.
No, I hadn't been to, well, I'd been overseas, but I'd never been to Europe before.
Europe, yeah.
But they were like, I had a couple of buyers email me and just say, when's your next appointment in Paris? I'd like to come see, I'd like to go to the showroom, visit you in Paris.
Your showroom. And
I was like, of course. And I was like, showroom, what is this all about? So then, no, I just set up my own, I just researched it. I was like, yeah, sure, come see me in Paris. I haven't thought about, so I just, and then I just, you know, organised myself to go there and be there.
In an Airbnb?
In an Airbnb, and just like went to the garment district in Paris, in the Force, and just went and got a couple of rails, and then just hung some stuff up, and then just started showing people my stuff. So it was kind of funny, but yeah.
But there was one incident that I loved learning about, where one time the Airbnb was not available.
Oh yeah,
and then led you to a whole nother path. Yeah.
Yeah, the Airbnb was, but the guy who had rented the Airbnb forgot that he had a booking and that he sold the apartment. So I turned up during like 30 plus degree heat in June or July for the resort market, and I had all these appointments, and I had no showroom. I had nowhere to live. That was pretty funny. And I was outside the Airbnb, and I was ringing the doorbell, and he just completely ignored it because I had messaged him in transit to say, hey, I'm coming, I'll meet you at this time. It was like before they had like lock boxes and you can just collect keys and like things like that. And then, yeah, that was kind of interesting. That was, so after that, like anything else it's okay. You have nowhere to live tonight. You're in Paris. It's Pride Week. It's like men's swim. It's menswear week. It's swim week. All hotels are booked out and 5 times price. I mean, if you can find somewhere to live and hang your hat and find it's possible. It's possible.
And that moment actually got you in with the buyers over, like more of the agencies, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, no, I had an agent.
In Hong Kong, yeah.
I had one agent from, you know, who was doing the Asia market. Actually, she was my only agent. Other than that, I was selling globally, and she was just only concentrating on Hong Kong mainly and mainland China. And then I just said, hey, do you what can I do? Do you have somewhere I can show? And she's like, oh, I might just ask, I know this other showroom, you know, they might have some space available. If they do, I'll get you in anyway and you can just put all your stuff there instead. Because I still, you know, I still had appointments with like Net-a-Porter and like some really large brands.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh, how do I explain to them I don't have a showroom anymore?
You must have just saw seen this, you know, the light side of everything. It sounds like you didn't stress too much.
Oh, I kind of did, because at the time iPhones had really bad battery.
Oh.
So it was like, you know, I remember it was like June, 30 something degrees. I had my 2 suitcases and my laptop and my hand luggage, because the 2 suitcases had all the samples in it, and I had my hand luggage and I had my laptop, and I had like, it was just me by myself, and then I had like maybe, I don't know, 12% battery.
Were you calling your partner at the time going,
yeah, I was
give
like,
up?
no, I wasn't. No, I said to him, I have nowhere to live and I have 12% battery. Find me somewhere to live tonight.
He sounds like a very supportive partner. Let's acknowledge that. Actually, now your husband.
Yeah.
And is a solicitor now.
Yeah. He's got a really cool head though, so he doesn't stress. He's like, don't worry, I'll call you back and I'll organise your accommodation. But I had to move like 3 times in 3 days every night because everything was booked out, because you know it was Pride Week, swim, and menswear, and everything had been booked out. So way in advance. So if you get there when you get there, it's like good luck to you. So I was like, well, this will be an interesting experience. But that's not the first time that's happened to me, actually.
Okay.
I did that actually another time. I had a proper showroom, but I had the Airbnb broken into, and the whole door was broken off its hinges.
In Paris?
In Paris. So yeah, after that I was like, I'm never doing Airbnbs again. Never. Just like, no. Just not in Paris. Just no. So I just didn't do that again, and then that was fine. Just stick to hotels.
Well, what advice do you have for emerging designers? You know, you feel like you've continued to navigate your way. What would some key advice be for you at the moment?
Key advice? I mean, I think
looking to create commercially, and is it to take these challenges and to think outside of the box like you have?
Oh, I would just say I think you need to decide like what it is that you actually like, because what I do like these days is obviously I still design the collections and I have a lot more assistance than I used to have, but I think it's what do you want to get out of it? So you do the course, but you might not be a designer. Maybe you become a stylist. Maybe you go into something different.
Fashion buying or, yeah.
Well, yeah,
merchandising,
you go into something very different. I think it depends if you want to be creative. Do you want to be creative or do you want to own a business? Those are 2 very different value propositions and require different skill sets. You just want to be a designer, that's a different thing. If you want to just design day in, day out, you can be a designer. Or if you want to be a product developer, that's different from being a designer as well.
So many different areas.
There's a lot of different areas, and
when
I think
people say they want to be in fashion, they don't.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Define for me. There's so many subcategories to that. So I think maybe what I would say is just be a little bit more specific in what it is that you want, and maybe that just requires like a bit more research and a little bit of work experience, a bit more work experience into different areas before you can make a informed decision.
Because you also share about now that Anna Quan, the label, has core values. Can you tell the listeners about the core values of your
values?
Yeah, how you've come to that now.
Oh, it's been a bit hit and miss over the years in terms of like hiring, in terms of like making bad choices, decisions, whether it's intercompany or intra-company, external, internal. But you know, I think core company values in terms of internally, it's always about teamwork and collaboration, and those I would say those are like real key things, and excellence. And it probably is going to be a bit scary for my team when I tell them this on our brand day next week. These are the key things, but I don't really believe in doing something unless you really like doing what it is that you do, whatever it is that you do. So I think it's important to be excellent, people might disagree, but I'm not saying you have to always be going up and up and up and up and up. I'm just saying what it is that you're doing. I think maybe it's important that you want to be excellent at it. So yeah.
You definitely have, with your brand, you can see that there's excellence throughout it. Reflecting on the last 10 years, because you just had your 10th anniversary.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, incredible, in 2023. You always talk about evolving as a brand. How are you looking forward? Is there anything you want to bring into the brand? What are you feeling for evolving and moving forward, the Anna Quan brand?
Well, I think for the brand, it's probably, like for us, it's just about, like, I think 10 years is still, it seems like a lot of time, but it actually kind of isn't in terms of the evolution of a small business that has grown from a bit more of like a very grassroots, small business sort of level. So like you look at businesses that have really had a sense of longevity, which is like, you know, you've got Zimmerman, which is like private equity now. It's like, you know, that's like a 30 plus year, you know, growth period. Like that's a 30-year monument building. And then you look, so I just, like when I think about that, I just kind of think, oh, we're just still like in this awkward teenage phase of coming out of being like a very small business to being a medium enterprise, and really instilling a sense of like values and training and operating procedures. So that's kind of like where I'm at the moment, just making sure I really shore up all my foundational processes that are extremely like robust and strong. We can have goals, but like I was just rereading Atomic Habits by James Clear, and we are all like a collection of our habits. And when I look at that, I just think, yeah, he's absolutely right. And we are only as strong as our processes. You know, we can have goals, but it's the processes that kind of like, even without the goals, your processes will still get you there. So if anything, it's like basically my next thing that I'm concentrating on is my team is looking at processes. They probably think I'm a little bit like crazy, but it's just like you can have like a marginal improvement. And we do this challenge actually in our office where we do a bit of our own internal September challenge. And I give out prizes to everybody. So last year we did like a $250 voucher for first prize, $100 voucher for second, and like a $50 voucher for third place. And in September, everyone in the whole team can sign up. We have a Google Sheet, and obviously it's like an honours system, but you log in all your steps throughout September, and the person who does the most steps obviously wins. And second, but what the point was in this process was for everybody to look at everybody else's steps and to see that it's actually people who just are consistent in their approach that actually win. It's not people who do like, you know, 20,000 steps one day and then next day they're doing 2,000 steps and they're at home. So, you know, we actually go through, analyze everybody's like steps, and I'm like, see, this person didn't do heaps every day, but did it every day throughout the whole of September.
Consistency.
It was a consistency.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to, I guess, remind people is that consistency, being consistent in your habits actually gets you very far.
And I love that you've given them an actual exercise to show this value.
We're doing it, but people are very competitive too. So it's actually really funny to see who's more competitive, and it's hilarious. But it's just, you know, just a team building thing. But it's to demonstrate that you don't have to be like super. It's something everybody can do, but it's definitely about discipline, having a sense of discipline and being really thoughtful, and just being consistent.
Because the internships, a lot of people now coming out of this FDS study and looking for internships. You also have a beautiful, you shared with me briefly, a system that you like to talk about with internships that is very different, I think, to a lot of other business owners.
In what
I've very
sense?
admired, and just in the sense that you want them to feel worth, like to be paid, to feel like they've got a place.
So we do take interns from Tafe and from other organisations from time to time. But obviously it's only as part of their coursework, which is what the legal framework, the Fair Work Australia thing says, that you should only be able to take, unless of course the exception is, and it's very narrow, that really people are actually really learning, because if people are not learning, then they should be getting paid, which is true, they should be compensated for their labour. So in that regard, after anybody that finishes their 12 weeks, if I do feel that they are contributing to the company and we would like to hang on to them, because then they just become a casual employer. We employ people, but we don't really like holding on to people because we want the extra labour, but we don't want to pay somebody. And I also think that people get a sense of, like you said, self-worth if they're paid for their time. And it's a job, it's not a favour, it's
They feel accountable then, yeah.
That's what I'm looking for, end-to-end accountability. I don't want to give a job to somebody and then they half do it and see you later, my day's done, or something like that. You know what I mean? You want someone to take it all away and have a sense of pride in what they do, because what's the point? Fashion's not a highly remunerative career choice to begin with. So if you're going to do it, you might as well, try to get, you should want to get something more out of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. Did you bring something you love today?
I don't know if it's
Surprise
something...
me. You do like surprises in business.
I don't know if I like surprises, but I'm used to them now.
Yeah.
So I got these, my team don't like to show people this, but we leave this at our meeting desk, and I have one in my office, and it faces people every time they come into my office.
Love it. I really like it.
It's to remind
You're
people.
part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
So I actually leave this.
Great.
I leave it when I have a performance review, or I have a 90-day review, or a month-to-month review with people. I leave it, and then we have it in our meetings. And I leave it for internals and externals to see when they come to our meetings in our office, because I don't really want people to give me problems. I just want solutions. So don't come to me and whinge. It sounds terrible, but I also want them to get in the mindset that you can either think about become a solutions person, don't become a problems person. And it's for some people, it's retraining the way in which they think about things and reframing it.
And seeing different perspectives, which you would have had to learn in the legal, industry. Yeah.
And seeing the other side. But
Yes.
for me, it's for them to reframe something that they go, oh, this is a huge problem. And I'm just well, okay, then what's the solution? So I leave this there because I want people to think a little bit more. Think a little bit more about things. I don't know, be a bit more thoughtful when they want to chat about something. So
Has to be one of my favourite surprises.
I don't know. I laugh at it. Some people get it, and some people get a little bit oh, what are you trying to say about me? I'm just don't be a problem, be a solution.
Good message to leave on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I actually got 2 of these done. One in my office and one outside. But I think it probably scares them a little bit. But I don't know. It's funny. If anything, at least we crack up. But my friends who come to the office, they get it. They get it. They laugh because they know exactly my personality, so they get it. So yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for being on For the Love of It, Tafe New South Wales sessions.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Anna.
Was that a surprise?
That was a surprise.